Well, hey, hello, hi. My name is Andrew Chiles, and I got Cheryl Trade with me today.
Hi.
And today we're going to be reviewing Canada's Drag Race Season 3, Episode 3, The Ruets. Did you enjoy watching this episode last night?
I did. It was really good. I'll be honest, there are times when I'm just like, I'm busy and I can't keep up with all the drag races, but I was like, I have to. I have really good friends and good sisters in this competition. The last, actually, all 3 seasons. But this one I'm closely personally connected to. The episode was very good.
Who are you connected to, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, Shells on the Roo and I have been really good friends. The day she started doing drag, I met her at a Pride Parade in Edmonton, and we've been really good friends ever since. She's been doing drag for a while, and she's killing it out on TikTok, and then now on Drag Race, and I'm really, really close with her. And then, of course, Chaos. I've just met them this year, but they're amazing, and we have our personal connection through Beth. So,
And we had Miss Mosu just leave this last episode. Out of the 2 Toronto queens, yet again, did you feel that it was just that it was Miss Mosu?
Judged on the lip sync, I would say so. Just on the lip sync alone, I would say, okay, maybe. But I'll have to say, I would have really liked to see more from Miss Mosu. She seems interesting to me. I really like her wit and sense of humor. And I would have liked to see more from her, but I think if I only watched the lip sync, I think it was deserved.
Yeah, pre-season, I was not expecting her to be the second out. I genuinely thought that she would have gone a lot further, and I was expecting to see maybe 5th alternate, 4th alternate, really far along I thought she'd go.
Yeah, same.
For the mini challenge, we start off with a Daddy goes on a dinner date with Brooklyn Heights. It's pretty much like this improv challenge where you have to just make Brooklyn laugh. Out of all of the characters that we saw, was there any 1 or 2 that really stood out to you?
Well, I'll have to say Kimmy stood out to me, but I don't know if it was for the right reasons. I think she stood out so much because you could just tell how uncomfortable she was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a weird, dysphoric thing for people to go through, especially someone who, you have to play the opposite gender and you have to butch it up and that kind of thing to go on a date with a man. It's just a weird mental thing to go through. I think she still did great given the circumstances, but you could just tell first off that she was very uncomfortable.
I never even thought of that. That's actually something an extra layer to add on to it for sure, and something to really put into thought for.
I think Chaos stood out for me because he made me laugh a lot because I know him pretty well and I know he was really playing up the Alberta butch cowboy thing. And I'm like, that's not you at all, but it was fun to watch. I know you're playing a character, but it was fun to watch.
That's how I've been feeling about Chaos in the confessionals, even just seeing them with the cowboy hat. I've gotten haircuts from them. I've seen them before. It's not who they are, but I love that they're just amping up that camp.
Yeah. You're on TV. You have to be. So, yeah.
One of the people that really stood out to me was probably Shayla Zahn. The whole beaver trapper and taking back my land bit, that literally sent me through the roof. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, no, I love it because the best thing about Shell, and I know I'm going to be a little bit biased because she is one of my closest. She's the person I know most in the competition, but I love that she's always so authentically herself. All of the challenges, she has her native TikTok humor, she has her anti-humor, and she'll always throw that in there. And I've always appreciated that, whether she's on TV or she's on TikTok or just in person. That's just how we joke around. That's how we talk. So it's great to sit on TV.
Yeah, it's really nice to see. I said this before, it's taken us 2 seasons to get the right amount of Indigenous representation, and that's not anything to be said against Alona or Beth. Beth really didn't have any time on the show to really represent that, but I just feel like this is the true representation of indigeneity, and I think it's really beautiful to see that actually being represented in its most authentic and true form.
I think while we're on the topic, one of the things I can say is I was very happy in season 1 to see Alona and see her present her culture in a way. We got one side of it and we got to see how Alona would interpret it. And I think she did an okay job. I'm friends with Alona. I think she did great. Beth just didn't get any time at all on the show to show off her indigeneity or that side of her. One thing that I'm really loving, and like you just said, in this season, you have someone like Shell, who grew up on the reserve, who grew up around that culture, who grew up around a lot of Indigenous people and is still around a lot of Indigenous people. And then you have someone like Chaos, who didn't really have that. And they're, like he even said in the episode, sometimes he's uncomfortable mentioning that he's Indigenous because he doesn't have any connection to it. So I think those are two very real situations, and I'm glad that they were both shown on TV.
Fully agreed. I personally, as a Métis person myself, also from Alberta, I very much understand Chaos's side of the entire story, and how the 60s scoop really repressed a lot of our family members to really not be who they are. And so I feel a lot of that connection, and it's really nice to see that as a personal side, but also for the greater scheme, to have everybody else understand that the 60s scoop was real, and it was like assimilation. We had to like repress who we were. It's very traumatizing and saddening to see, but it's also very exciting to see this whole new representation coming up.
People forget that, yes, it was 60 years ago, but the ripple effects of that affects generations to come, right? So
I didn't even realize it was 60 years ago. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. So that can affect, like you said, your parents, your grandparents, but then the traumas and things that get passed down through families, or for someone like yourself in Chaos, you might not have a connection to your Indigenous heritage, what you normally would, if it weren't for the 60s scoop. But I have a lot of great conversations with folks around here. Like a really good friend of mine, Zana, from here, of course you know her. She's the same way. She's very white passing. She's Métis. She doesn't have a very strong connection to her Indigenous heritage because it was taken away from her, like her family members. Versus someone like me, I grew up on the reserve in northern Saskatchewan, and I was around people speaking Cree and learning my language and learning my culture since I was a kid. So I'm glad that it's coming back and people are now talking about it, but it doesn't mean one person is more Indigenous than the other, or one is more valid or less valid. And I'm glad that people are starting to talk about it, especially because it was on the show last night.
Yeah, it was a very beautiful moment, and we'll retouch on that moment later. One of the people that I really enjoyed seeing from this mini challenge was Gisele. This whole white-haired older daddy character, I kind of know who this guy is, and I thought that it was very hilarious to see that person being represented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt like I was mixing up Gisele and Vivian because they were both so funny, and I know they were partners in the challenge, but I think they were both really good in the mini challenge as well.
I mean, Vivian's Aussie whole like dipping the hand in the water and slicking the hair, literally everything about that character like made me bust laughing. It was so good, and I'm so thankful that she was the winner of today's mini challenge. She won a $2,500 gift card to Shoe Freaks, which is, I think, as a drag queen, that is fantastic to have. Shoes is probably the most expensive and hardest thing to accessorize or like finish the outfit with, so I'm very happy to see this is one of the winnings.
Yeah, I would love. I mean, I'm sure that the Shoe Freaks, I haven't personally shopped there, but I'm sure that they have it so that the sizes are larger and wider, and you can find the proper things for drag queens and for people with larger feet. Because for me, shoes are not the most expensive, but they're the hardest to find.
As the winner of the mini challenge, we get to have Vivian Vanderpuss get to assign the different roles or the different songs to everybody. But first, everybody gets to choose their own partner. If you had to choose a partner or two, who would you want as a partner out of this entire cast?
I mean, I would love to say Shell because we are so close, and part of the lip sync is having those connections. But I also feel, no, we'll scrap that. I'll say Shell. But as a close second, I think I would say Vivian. And only because our styles in drag are a little bit different, and I feel like we'd be able to complement each other well. Whereas Shell and I are a little bit closer together in our styles, where it might look like twins or people who are very similar together. I think we could have a very good personal connection with Shell and I, but Vivian would be really fun to lip sync with too.
Now, if it was me, I think I'm so jaded by competition TV shows that I would choose my enemy, only because anytime that they pair you, they're generally going to make you lip sync against each other or be enemies. So as much as I would love to have someone that I have extreme kinship with, I would not want to send my girl home, so I would go for somebody else completely. Now, out of all of the songs, we have Adrenaline, I Feel Like Dancing, Let the Music Play, Peanut Butter, and Throw Your Hands Up. Which would you want?
I honestly, watching it, I thought right away, I was like Adrenaline, because it was not just because of who had it, but looking at Adrenaline, it was the one that I know the best and was like the most catchy that I liked. But Let the Music Play was like interesting to me. I think that was the one that no one wanted, and it was slower and a little bit different. And I was like, that's a way to shine. Like, everybody's going to be hair flipping choreo and flipping around on the floor and doing this and that. And while I could do that, I think it gives me an opportunity right away to say, okay, mine's different from everyone else's. How can I make this maybe funny or campy or maybe ballad it a little bit? Because it's a mid-tempo song.
So you wouldn't have been as bitter as Fierce, maybe, when she got chosen for this song?
Yeah, I love that they bring this new age and people are like afraid of like stirring the pot or saying no. And it's like, this is a competition, or they say, do you want this, yes or no? Meaning no is an option. I just say no. And I don't owe you an explanation. I'm just saying no.
Yeah, literally.
Do you think Fierce wouldn't have done the same thing to everybody else if she was given the chance?
Ooh, I'm glad you said it. So when it comes down to Elimination Day, we actually do get an apology from Fierce. Would you have responded the way that Gisele responded, or would you have responded completely different?
It's hard to say. Like, I think watching it from home, I was like, oh, okay, that was a bit much. But what you have to think about, they're on episode 3 now. They've been filming together. They're away from their families. They're in this pressure cooker environment. They're in a competition. It's stressful. Somebody's being a brat seemingly every week, whether it's justified or not. And I think the way Gisele reacted, and on the inside tea that I know, being that they didn't show everything that happened, I think I would have reacted the same way as Gisele did, because somebody's being a brat over what? A competition that people are playing just like everyone else is. You know what I mean? Like, the way it showed on TV, it showed like it was an overreaction. But if you think about it logically of what else is going on and the stuff that didn't air, I would have reacted the exact same way.
So she is the drama. Okay, so season 4 producers, Cheryl, get Cheryl.
Hey.
When it came down to the performances, firstly we had Shayla Zahn and Chaos performing. They performed Adrenaline. How did you feel about these outfits, the overall performance? What was your thought?
I liked the overall performance, but I very much agreed with what the judges said when it came to the song hit. Chaos came out like guns a-blazing and went pow, pow, pow. It was doing the most. And it was great. And I know that Shell even said that she's not the dancing queen. She'll serve, but she's not really like choreo, hair flip, back flip, all that stuff. So it was interesting to see how their energies kind of switched. Exactly what I think it was Brooklyn said, where, Shell ended very strong and Chaos kind of tapered down. So I think it was still good, but I did agree with what the judges said.
Now, the overall looks for the outfits and cohesion, did you enjoy the 2 looks that they prepared?
I did. Knowing what both of them are capable for, if they ever see this, they'll probably be mad. I think they could have done better. I don't hate it, but I think it was cute. And I don't know if they had made the outfits themselves or if somebody made them for them. But
I think they were made for them, just because I feel like I've seen Chaos's outfit before. And I think what I'm going to agree with what you're pretty much trying to say is that if this was local hometown, this would have been perfect everything. But the fact that this is like Drag Race, we kind of want to see a little bit more of that cohesion and like immersiveness into who they are together. Yeah. I don't know if they were given, like, it's confusing because it's like, were you given time ahead to plan, to know that you were going to be working with so-and-so and you can, or did you just actually decide that day and have to find an outfit that would match each other? Because like, even let's move on to Lady Boom Boom and Kimmy Couture. They're both wearing this orange and like ostrich feathers. Like, it felt very tight.
They're a very good example though of,
yes,
their outfits matched well, their energy matched well, but then their outfits were also like elevated. Like, it was an outfit that's not just a bar outfit. It's something that you could bring into a performance on TV.
Anything that has ostrich feathers, great for movement, great for bucking, great for dancing challenges.
And it's expensive.
And then we have Fierce and Bombay coming up third. And again, this is quite the cohesiveness with the whole red outfit. And it's very like bodysuit with a long arm. I kind of like the look for both of them, especially as tall, skinnier queens who have lots of leg to show. It's really beautiful to see.
Yeah, I mean, if you have it, then flaunt it. You know what I mean? Like, good for you. You're on TV. You're showing yourself off. You're confident. You have a great body. That's awesome. I agree that it worked well for both of them. I'll have to admit that my eyes were more drawn to Fierce. Even though she was being a brat, she did serve very well. She looked great. I love the double, I don't even know, they were like grinding in the floor with the two of them this way and then they hair flipped that way. That was a great moment. I was like, okay, they won me over at that point. Like, was it my favorite? No, but I think I was intrigued by it and I was like, okay, they know what they're doing. Like, Fierce, I get a little bit of like baby Naomi Smalls from baby Naomi Smalls.
Yes. Yeah, I get that. I totally get that.
Aesthetic, makeup, legs, attitude.
I think the one thing that made Fierce Delicious stand out a little bit more than Bombay is Fierce had a little bit more of the orange tones and the yellow tones, also some nude illusion. So it really gave a little bit of a peekaboo and a different variety in color. Whereas I found Bombay was too flat with the amount of red that she was wearing. It was kind of like covering her up per se.
Yeah.
But I agree. The dance moves were tight. They were beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The fourth group that we have is probably the funniest grouping that we could have ever had, which was peanut butter and mayonnaise. I thought that was a very hilarious thing that Irma could have ever said. We have Irma and Jada doing peanut butter.
Yeah, I think they were very smart to do what they did. It was very obvious that Jada was going to be peanut butter and Irma was mayonnaise. And it worked really well. I found it entertaining. I don't mean this in a bad way because I can't twerk either, but like, I kind of thought Jada was going to twerk a little harder than she did. Like, she twerked harder in rehearsal than she did on stage.
I'm glad you said it because that's what I thought too.
The camera's like zoomed right up on her and she just kind of, it's like, okay, better than what I could do, but I thought you were going to do better than that.
But overall, the entire storyline that they went for was so hilarious. And I think this is where I would have definitely chosen somebody on the complete opposite spectrum of who I am, because I think this is where the opportunity is that you can truly make a storyline. Kind of like what we said with Fierce and Bomb. They were doing everything the exact same, like at the same time. Whereas I think with Irma and Jada, they really gave us that nice balance of like left, right. So it was really like appealing to the eye to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one of the things too that you kind of touched on right there, it's when you think of a RuPaul song, they're almost always like a parody. They're almost always like joking about something. There should be some element of comedy. Like, of course, most of us drag queens that perform, we default to be like, ooh, we're going to be sexy. We're going to be dancing. We're going to be flipping our hair around. And that's great. I'm not against that. That's what I'm probably going to be doing in about 5 hours from now. But I think when it comes to a RuPaul song, especially in a challenge like this, and in a song like Peanut Butter, why not make it funny? Like, why not have a storyline of like, these are these two characters, maybe they're like ex-lovers that are fighting over, you know what I mean? Like, you can build a storyline into it and make it funny as long as you sell it, instead of just like, here's my pretty human hair wig and my skinny body.
Period. The one thing that I would say that I didn't necessarily like was the outfits being completely and totally different. But again, when it came to the storyline, I think that was necessary. So that way you could understand, oh, she's the pro twerker and she's the white girl twerker. Like, it was really good for that. Plus, Irma Gerd kind of looks like Willow Pill here. Is that just me?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even think about that, but that makes sense to me. I'm going to have to rewatch and see that again. I won't be able to unsee it now.
And lastly, we end up getting Viv and Gisele. And holy shit, I loved this performance so fucking much. The way that they were robbed of the top two, in my opinion. It was my opinion. They did so good with their choreography. It was simple. It was clean. It wasn't two paused and braked, it was like from the next to the next to the next to the next, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, it's giving me a little bit of like I don't remember, I think it was season 2. It was season 2 energy of the judging was just weird. Like they were very much just like, it was too simple. And it was like, okay, well, you wanted fire and backflips and like, when you look at someone like, I don't know, Fierce and Bombay, theirs was simple. They were grinding on the floor. The only exciting part was when she didn't catch her. And they never mentioned anything about, which was funny. I did laugh at that. I mean, I knew it was a gag, but it was funny. But it was just weird that they give some critiques to certain pairings and they don't give it to other pairings, which, is TV producing, but...
That's how I felt a little bit about last week's episode. I kind of thought that with the way that they like threw Irma under the bus with that shoe edit, like the heel lace, I really thought she was going to be in the bottom, but then they were like, no, we're going to go production and we're going to do 2 Toronto girls. And I kind of felt the same way today with Shaylazon and Fierce Delicious, that they went production based off of the edit that the two have already given us, versus, in my opinion, it should have been Shaylazon and Chaos, because if you're going to say that they sucked each other's energy, they were equal.
Yeah, that's fair. I can understand that. As much as they are my friends, you have to look at just, if I put everybody at a level playing field and I look at what happened yesterday and I'm judging on that, I'm like, yeah, you can't have one of them be like, you did okay, but the other one sucked your energy, but she's getting to stay. I think I can kind of agree with that.
When it came to Vivian and Gisele's outfits, I really like the corsetedness, the overall look. I could totally see these two people doing an actual like number together, and I just want to say that Vivian looks like something that came out of Violet Chachki's brain. She looks so beautiful.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm obsessed with Vivian. Like, I've been following her for years. I think she's so talented. I actually just hung out with her today. We were at brunch earlier. And it's weird because I got to know her on a personal level, and now it's making her drag character even more like heartwarming and exciting to me, because I only really knew them as Cheryl and Vivian. Like, I never really met them outside of drag or outside of the stage. And then now that I'm seeing them on TV and they're touring around, I was just like, wow, I hope she does really good and goes really far, because she's amazing. I am a Vivian stan.
So first for the runway, we have Miss Jada Shayda Hudson with this all gold, beautifully embellished jacket and a little bit of a fascinator.
I feel like I have to look at it again, but I feel like watching it last night, I remember being like, I liked it a lot, but I wanted to look closer attention to the details, which I think was smart. Like, she did have details in her outfit, but I wanted to see them a little closer. So maybe I'll rewatch it and get into it, but I did like it. I liked the fascinator. The color looked great on her. And I don't know. I think I just wanted to see the details closer. That has to do with the camera and not her.
I think the jacket seems to be like the trend of 2022 when it comes to drag. We've seen Monet Exchange in one like twice just on this past season alone, and now we're seeing like Jada Shayda Hudson in one. I think it looks extremely beautiful. You're totally right. The way that there's so much embezzlement is like beautiful. It's just I want to see more. The only thing I personally didn't like was the heel. It felt brown, not gold. That's my only minor critique. And so for me, sorry, I should have mentioned this earlier. On this channel, we have a root, which is a good, a boot, which is a boot, and then we have a double, which is our version of a shoot. And so for me, this is a root. It's beautiful, it's clean, it has all the marks checked off. Mwah.
Yeah, I agree. I give it a root as well.
And then secondly, we get Irma on the stage with this beautiful like jellyfish aquatic sleeves, and I absolutely love it.
I don't know. I remember when she came out and it's very obvious right away. You get jellyfish, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. I didn't hate it, but I'm on the fence. And I think the only thing that was weird to me was the center part. Like, there was very clear jellyfish around, like the fringe and stuff beside her. but there was something in the center, and I don't know if it was part of the bodice or part of the centerpiece that was just throwing me off. But I want to look at it again and be like, okay, there's something in the center that I remember just being like, was taking me out of it.
It's that one ruffle that's like starting in the right shoulder, but then goes down to the slit. If anything, that's probably the part that I don't necessarily love, and I wish there was a little bit more cohesion from the sleeves into the actual bodice itself. But I think that the extravagantness of these sleeves it hits the mark, and I love it. So for me, it's a root.
I'll give it a light root, just a little baby root.
We next get Fiercelicious coming up as Reveliana. I got a trick up my sleeve. I thought this was a beautiful, hilarious, and smart concept. I like the fruition of it. I think the body is beautiful. The open chest is nice. And even her makeup to the hair. I love this overall look.
I was a fan of it as well. One thing is, and this, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this either, but I want to know if Fierce and Eve are friends. Like, did they talk about this? Is this something they do? Did she say, I'm going to take your love?
Eve actually styled Fiercelicious's goddess of the ancient runway with like the mirrors on her head.
Okay.
And Suki actually was the one who created the look. So I wouldn't be surprised if Eve took part into this overall concept and into Fiercelicious's package overall too. So I feel like she totally was like, I want you to do this. This is smart. Here's a nod to me.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
And then after Fiercelicious, we get Bombay coming out with this beautiful hair into a sleeve look. I thought this was probably something I would have done if this was a prompt that was given to me and if I was a drag queen. I think it's beautiful, it's continuous, and we always are talking about big hair on drag queens. So to see this just extraness and overness come down, mwah.
I loved it. I loved it for sure. It reminded me of something that Simone would have done on her season. It seemed like Simone had always had something to do with her hair, which would incorporate into her outfit, or it would be something like she would circle it around her arm. And I do love that Hollywood Jade added that it was part of like hair shows in the 90s. Because if you have ever seen, like, I've watched videos from the hair shows and I'm just like, it's crazy to think what people can do with their hair. So of course, on the main stage of RuPaul's Drag Race or Canada's Drag Race, either one, you should be able to pull some of these tricks out of your sleeve.
The smallest of smallest critiques that I would have wanted for myself is to have the hair continuing down onto her legs. That would have been way over the top extraness and I would have died. This is still stunning, fantastic, and a total root for me. But I just think that if she had done that little extra bit further down, it's over.
I overall really like the look and I give it a root for sure.
And then when it came to Shelazon LaRue with her ribbon dress outfit and the shoulders beyond belief, I thought this was beautiful, and I love that she always comes with the full storyline about her indigeneity into every single look that she does. And so I see you, we see you.
Yeah. I think the colors, first of all, pastels always look amazing on her. I love the color scheme of her outfit. I know the person that made it for her, and they're always great with details. Again, I really loved, like you said, I love that Shell always incorporates some sort of indigeneity into her runways and her performances. It's not just like a 1 week I'm going to show you I'm Indigenous, and the next week I'm going to wear a rhinestone bodysuit. Nothing wrong with a rhinestone bodysuit. I have those as well. But it seems like every week she's got her weekly, like, this is my whole story, and this is what's important, and this is why I'm wearing it. And I love that about the show. I get some of the critiques a little bit about how it was simplified and stuff, but I kind of wish sometimes that the judges would take into incorporation what the significance of ribbons mean to Indigenous people and to Two-Spirit people.
I think maybe if it was a darker background, it would have made the colors pop a little bit more. But small critiques, it's a root.
Yeah, it's definitely a root for me as well.
We get Chaos on the stage, giving us, was it 2 reveals or 3 reveals? It was too much for me, mama.
That last Cher bodysuit, very Bob Mackie, was beautiful. It was something that I would wear. I love that color. I think that one of the things that I'm starting to get to know about Chaos, knowing them personally and seeing them on the show, they are an overthinker. And a lot of us are. but they're very hard on themselves, and they feel like, I need to do this, and I need more, and I need more and more and more. And sometimes it's nice to just be like, you have a beautiful garment on. You have crazy makeup. You have beautiful garment. Just sell the garment. Have a story and sell it. You don't need 18 reveals and an explosion to sell a beautiful dress.
Next on the stage, we get Vivian Vanderpuss with her tiny little hands. And I thought the overall concept of this and having like the little octopus hands and sleeves at the bottom just takes it so over the top that I really, really enjoy the stupidity. I love stupid drag.
Yeah. It was so funny because I saw the little hands. I was like, oh, that's a cute little gag. Like, we've seen people, a few drag queens and just people in general start to pull those out of the woodwork. Like Trixie and Kachi use them a lot on their show. And you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of like a funny gag. But then the tentacle legs at the bottom with all the little hands, I was like, oh, okay, she got me there. I wasn't expecting that at all. I loved it.
Did you ever watch Family Guy in the episode where Stewie multiplies himself into like an octopus like 1,000 times?
I think I did. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
I don't know why, but the hands on the bottom remind me of that for whatever reason.
There's something almost about like a 70s or 80s like horror film too. Just the little hands like
like a little claymation hand walking forward. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that it's giving like a very like Cirque kind of look, especially with the mustache and like the overall makeup going on. So I think for me, this is maybe a double. It's really, really high up there for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say of everyone the whole night on the runway, I would give her a double for sure.
And then we get our big long-armed sis, Gisele, on the runway. And it was so funny that these two queens were working together and on the exact same runway. They had the same kind of like concept of hands, extraness. And I thought that was so cute. And I loved the clutch on the arm. I love that.
Mm-hmm. The clutch is what got me. I remember that stands out in my mind of like, okay, she's funny, but I got them. Mm-hmm. Again, I want to look at it again now. I forget. That's the thing is, I think because it was close to Vivian's and my mind goes to Vivian's, but I want to see hers again because the clutch is what stood out for me.
So next up we get Kimmy Couture coming with this beautiful Asian-inspired outfit with the gold drapery, the headpiece, and the lovely pointed shoulders. I loved the shoulders on this the most because when it came to like sleeves, everyone's going for something like full connectivity. And she was like, I'm going to give you just a sleeve on its own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was smart. It was different from everyone else's. I actually liked that there was a headpiece as well. Like it felt very connected to the rest of the outfit. Because sometimes when someone does a headpiece, it's sort of like beautiful gown, sparkly headpiece, and it doesn't always match. And it's just like, okay, they're both pretty, but they don't really complement each other. But with Kimmy's outfit, it definitely did. And like you said, it was a sleeve on its own, which is interesting. I liked it. Yeah.
So for me, this is a root.
Root for me as well. Yeah, I liked it.
And lastly, we get Lady Boom Boom with this orange hoodie with the sleeves that go way back and rolled up. This was so beautiful, so conceptual. I love that the sleeves are so extra and rolled up. It gave me a little bit like a fruit roll up. For the amount of extraness, this is a double.
You know what's weird? So I didn't love. I liked the idea of it. I liked that they were rolled up and they kind of fell out. But then after the gag was over, I was like, you're tripping on it, girl. Like, I think there was a part where she almost fell and she was explaining how her sleeves were all the way down at the back of the stage. I thought it was I'll give it a root. I didn't hate it because the concept alone was cool. I just didn't love it as much as others did. And I think it was because you got a little bit of a gag for like a second and you're like, okay, but then you can't really runway walk. You can't finish your runway walk. And
that's very fair.
That to me was weird. Yeah, I don't know. The gag was great. It was smart, but you can't walk after it.
So Fierce Delicious versus Shay Lazan, and the lip sync is Don't Call Me Baby by Krisha Turner. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I did not know this song until we got to the chorus.
I actually knew this song, embarrassingly enough, but everyone else is like, what? Have we run out of songs to do?
Yeah.
But no,
with Justin Bieber and Nicki Minaj, haven't we already run out of songs?
I mean, Shania won't let us use her music, so what are we going to do now?
Let's go, girls. When it came to this lip sync, it was very heartbreaking for me to see the way that this was being edited. I love both Fierce Delicious and Shay Lazan, but as an Indigenous person, obviously I'm going to be rooting for Shay Lazan a lot more. However, Fierce really ate this lip sync up. With the minute that she started to do that bend and body on the floor, I was like, oh, okay, I see you.
Yeah.
You won this one.
Yeah, I agree. I know that my sister Shell can sell a lip sync song. She can lip sync even if she's not a dancing queen. But she can sell a good number. Unfortunately, it was just, I think up until that point, up until Fierce started on the floor, I was like, this could go either way. Like, they're doing pretty well, both of them. But then when Fierce went on the floor, I was like, what's she doing? What's she doing? What's she doing? And then unfortunately, I noticed myself constantly looking towards her. But this is another one of those instances where I wish on Drag Race you could see both contestants lip syncing. Like, I know the cameras have to move around, so it's interesting, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Fierce deserved it. I think she did better in the lip sync and sold the song. But I would have liked to see more from Shell because I love her. And she brought a lot to this competition.
All right, well, thank you very much, Cheryl Trade, for being here. I really appreciate you being on with me today. This was a great experience and a great interview to have, and I'm very thankful that we could have another Indigenous person to be able to have some of these tougher conversations. Thank you for being here, and if you haven't already, make sure that you give Cheryl a follow on all of her Twitter, her Instagram, etc. Where can they find you?
Pretty much everything is Cheryl_Trade. I think my Twitter is Cheryl Trade. I'm mostly active for all my shows and everything I'm posting mostly on Instagram, but it seems to be dying out and everybody hates it, so I'm trying to switch over to like a TikTok, Twitter nonsense. But Instagram is most active right now, so do Instagram and Twitter.